Today on the Realtor Moms podcast, we're talking about offers. If you're trying, but your offer's not getting accepted, we might have some tips as to why. Listen in.
Thanks for tuning in to the Realtor Moms podcast. I'm Tasha.
And I'm Jamie. We're full-time realtors in the FM and surrounding areas, and admittedly average moms. This is how we sell homes.
And try to keep our kids alive.
Hey, Tasha, today let's talk about offers.
Exactly.
We've been doing it.
Yes.
And sometimes for some buyers over and over again.
Many times.
And you know, if you're out there and you're making offers or you're thinking about making an offer, we just kind of want to prepare you a little bit for this market.
Oh, yes.
It is a little bit of a wild market, but it's not an impossible market.
You just have to maybe listen into our tips and what we have to share, and you'll be better prepared for when writing that offer comes.
Everybody's got that aunt, uncle, father, sister, right, who sold a house recently.
That coworker.
Who's going to tell you exactly how they did it and why it worked, and it was 18 years ago, or it was, I mean, heck, if it was 6 months ago.
Exactly.
It was a completely different market. So it's not that it's impossible. It's just that trust your realtors.
Yes.
We've got the lowdown on kind of what's working right now in this highly competitive market.
Correct.
So price.
Price
It's not always the only thing.
It's not always the only thing, but there are certain ways we can go about it. But price is definitely a factor in there. If you know there is more than one offer on the home, right? You know, offering less than list price is probably not going to get you the home.
Probably futile. Yeah. And part of that kind of depends on the time on market too. But we're speaking sort of in general terms because we can't cover every situation. But
exactly.
If you are going to make an offer on a hot property, you most likely have got to be at least at asking price, and be prepared to take our recommendations if we're with you and telling you what we think might
is it going to take?
What it might take in order to get that property, and be prepared. It might be over ask, and maybe you're not comfortable with that, and then instead you just move on. But we don't ever want our clients to spend more than they have to. But if you tell us as a client, I want this house, we're going to do what we can.
We are going to give you the advice that we can to get you into that home. And I should add, you and I both do this. Mm-hmm. We sit down, we talk to our clients, we get a good idea. Is this are you planning to be in this home for 2 years? Or are you planning to be in this home for 5, 7, 10 years? Because depending upon your future outlook is really going to guide us on what we recommend to get you into a home and what you can expect. Yeah. And we should probably reference back we have an episode that's, is this the market for you? Or what
this might not be
the market for you.
And for some people it might not be. But some people have to move right now, and it is possible. Don't believe all the media hype. Don't get sucked up into, oh my gosh, I don't want to compete. We're here to guide you. We'll get you through it. Number 2, contingencies.
Yes, and there's a few contingencies. Yeah. So, one thing to kind of think about is we have financing contingencies, we have inspection contingencies. Mm-hmm. What if you have a contingency that you need to sell a property?
Right.
These are the contingencies we are talking about.
Right. And we can do certain things. We work with a lot of other professionals in the industry. Maybe maybe we can make an arrangement to get that inspection contingency shortened or significantly shortened. Listen, we don't want to give away all our secrets on the podcast, but we've got some ideas.
We have ideas on how to get things done and
to make those contingencies a little more acceptable by a seller.
Correct.
But still protecting you as the buyer too. And we'll give you all the options. But having a great offer, even if it's like the highest priced offer that you would ever fathom.
It may not work if you have a home to sell.
It may not work littered with other contingencies.
If there's littered with other contingencies. Right. These are things to think about. As we sit down to chat with each of our clients, we really guide and advise depending upon your situation and what you need out of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Right. One of those contingencies that is standard or boilerplate on a typical financed purchase agreement is an appraisal contingency.
Yes.
And appraisals are very important. We're not necessarily saying you can or should or would remove the appraisal. However, in some cases that's a great idea too. But what we're talking about is a contingency for what to do if the house doesn't appraise for the offer that you're making.
And how and what can you bring to the table, if anything, to cover if it doesn't appraise.
Right.
So let's say we go back to the price, and let's say you decided to offer I'm using an example, $5,000 over list price. That's what you're willing to offer. The question comes down to, can you offer an appraisal gap coverage for if the home does not appraise? And if you can't do a full $5,000, do you have anything left available to put towards that? Maybe you only have $2,000.
Right.
But again, we can best look at your situation, come up with a plan on how to make it as comfortable as what you can do, but still attractive to a potential seller, because you're putting your best foot forward.
Yeah, you can come in hot and throw an extra $100,000 on top of the list price.
But
just
if it
to
doesn't
get the
appraise, it's not worth anything.
And a seller and their agent could look at that and say, well, that's nice, except you maybe forgot to mention that you can spend up to X number of dollars higher than an appraisal value. If you didn't get that message across to that seller with the offer, you missed a huge opportunity to be a more attractive offer.
Well, look at all of us who have had listings right now, all us agents. The first question out of each and every one of our mouths when we get offers over list price to the buyer's agent, we're asking, do you have an appraisal gap to go along with this offer above list price?
Right.
And that's the first question I know I ask, and I know you ask.
Yeah.
So
well, we have to when we get into those situations.
Correct. It's for the best interest of our sellers. So.
And kind of right along with that is proof of funds and or proof of financing and pre-approval.
Correct.
This is not the market to be window shopping. You have to be pre-approved. You can come to us first, and we can guide you to a handful of really great lender options. We are so blessed in the area to have lots of really great options for lenders, and we will help you find somebody that fits you so well. But that is partly why we need those pre-approvals.
You need to have that set up, ready to go, and that way you know what to expect with the financing side of things. We don't want a nasty surprise for you after we go into a contract.
Not only that, but
can you get a contract accepted without one?
You pretty much can't. And if you find something like, I'll just, I'll get that pre-approval after I find a house I like, you might not have the time.
You may not have the time. What if you look at 5 o'clock and they're reviewing offers at night at 9 o'clock?
Or 9, right.
There's no time.
Right. Your lender can only do so much.
And being able to get a pre-approval out in that little of time is really it's really difficult. I've seen them pull off some miracles, but best be prepared.
Don't be afraid of a pre-approval. It is not hard on your credit. If your credit is so close to being out of the range for applying for a mortgage that the 2 or 3 points or 5 points, whatever it is that it quote unquote costs your credit to run a pre-approval for you, pushes you outside of the range of your ability to purchase, hey, good thing you knew that up front.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to be okay. And sometimes those approval letters only last 30 or 60 days. They can be renewed very, very easily. It does not involve you starting all over. And so, we could say it till we're blue in the face, but pre-approvals are absolutely essential.
Correct. Then, one thing I'm going to bring up is close date.
Yeah, and possession date. Let's talk about those together.
One thing I will say is if I have a buyer, one of the first questions out of my mouth to the listing agent is, what close date does your buyer prefer? Or excuse me, what close date does your seller prefer?
Yeah.
Because I want to share that with my buyer, because what if you can offer the close date that the seller wants? Yeah. Well, that is one big win for your, your buyer to get them into a home. What if no one else can provide that close date?
Yeah. So and as your realtor, those are things that we contact the seller's realtor about as well. We're calling them and saying, hey, I know that you're going to want a great price, but aside from that, what are some of the other things you're going to be looking for in an offer? And so collecting as much information as we can from them in order to give that back to you just helps us help you make your offer as attractive as possible.
Yes. And then possession date. I know you've used this one.
Yeah, right.
I've used this one too when you told me about it. So,
and possession date just means that potentially you're closing on, let's say Tuesday, but not taking the keys until Thursday. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 24 hours. It just allows the seller to stay in the home a little bit longer, which can be great if the seller is, for example, also purchasing a different home on the same day. Well, being out of both places is really hard.
It can be, yes.
Yeah, so that can be a very attractive offer.
Especially if they're not hiring a moving company. If you're the type of person that wants
Even
to
if
do it
they
yourself, it just
Moving
it just
is
takes
hard
some
to
pressure
do.
off.
Yeah.
One thing I guess we did not talk about before this, but I think it's really important to add this in, is making sure that if the seller says we're not including the washer and dryer, or we are not including that deep freezer in the garage,
set, whatever it is.
Don't ask for things that aren't included
for sale. Right.
If they go off of strictly what the buyer, or what the seller is willing to include in the sale.
That's such good advice. Yes, do not give up the whole potential offer just because you wanted
that play set in the backyard. I actually have had that happen. I had someone fighting for that play set in the backyard and they lost out.
Yeah.
Eek.
That's too bad. Not worth it.
No.
Well, those are some of our tips, and we've got a lot more too, but we just wanted to give you a little confidence out there, tell you that there is more than just price. If you feel like, I could never compete, well, give us a call. We would love to talk to you about some of the other items that go into making a really, really strong offer.
Great.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Just think, you could hear from us every day if we were your realtors.
So give us a call or shoot us a text, send a smoke signal, or find us on Facebook. However you do it, just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And be sure to subscribe. Find more episodes at RealtorMomsPodcast.com or iTunes.
This podcast is produced by Tasha Barrett and Jamie R. Swenson of Park Company Realtors, 4170 41st Avenue South, Fargo, North Dakota.